Our theme this month is empowerment, and that's what we're talking about, empowering ourselves to realize our fullest potential, to realize our deepest gifts, to be able to fully express who we are individually and collectively. The topic for today is from heartbreak to healing. This topic essence was given by CSL months ago, and then I switched it a little bit, but in essence it was from heartbreak to healing. And unfortunately, I got to experience some heartbreak this past week. Last Sunday in the afternoon, Edie Nelson, some of you know Edie Nelson, she was a founder of Lighthouse Center for Spiritual Living. She currently lives in Walnut Creek with her family, her daughter and her daughter's family. And her grandson, Miles, who's been to our service, who's just a lovely boy, young man, he's 23. He also, in the last few years, started suffering some mental health challenges. And due to some challenges, last Sunday, he was shot and killed by the police in Walnut Creek. And getting that call from Edie. Anyone who knows her, she talked about her grandson, and she cut his umbilical cord. They've been very connected his whole life. And so that's heartbreak. And last night we were at a vigil at Walnut Creek that his friends put together to honor him, and just the Walnut Creek community, they just all came out. It was beautiful, the love that was there. So that's serious heartache. We've all have heartache in our life. Have had their various degrees. So I think we all know it. Some of you may be feeling heartache in your own life and for something happening in your life. Your body isn't working, your job isn't working, your relationship isn't working. There's something about yourself that's causing you heartache, something maybe you did to somebody else, that's something that may be causing you heartache, or you know someone who's going through heartache. And when we start to feel that, we feel the density of our human experience. We feel this inertia, this constriction that starts to happen. But then we also have this miraculous, amazing awareness from our teaching that in the ultimate, everything is fine. That the divine, infinite love, intelligence of the universe is always already perfect. It has never been hurt, harmed, or in danger. Nothing is ever limited. Its fullness, its wholeness, its perfection, its beauty, its joy, its love. Nothing can ever hurt, harm, or endanger it. It is always fully alive and awake in, through, and as all time and space, and yet transcends all time and space. This is what we know. This is what we teach. This is what we believe. This is what we experience, that this power and this presence and light is always here. Love knows no death. Love knows no death, ever. So we have the density of the human experience, and we have this spiritual truth, and sometimes there just seems like this huge gap in between. From heartbreak to healing. How do we get to that healing? Ernest Holmes says there's actually nothing to be healed, only God to be revealed. That in fact, the healing has already happened. That the divine presence already is whole, perfect, and complete. So we're here to move. How do we make that shift to that healing? I think maybe thousands of years ago, the reason why they talked about God being so distant in such a faraway land is because the challenges of living on this earth were so intense that this divine perfection did seem so far away. It did seem so distant to the difficulties of living. But as we continue to evolve, this wonderful thing called evolution, we recognize more and more that this divine presence is closer to us than our very breath. It is right here, right now, in the midst of life. How do we experience this? Thomas More, the current Thomas More, who's a theologian, psychologist, author, he wrote a book called Care of the Soul. I love this book because it helped clarify for me something that wasn't always clear. He distinguishes between spirit and soul. Spirit is just what I said. It is always already whole, perfect, and complete. It is always fine. It's immediate and it's now because it never stops being itself. So it's always the moment we touch into it, it's here and now. Soul, he talks about, is actually spirit in time and space. It's how spirit expresses in time and space, and so it starts attaching itself to form. It's in form. It feels itself in form. So where spirit moves very quickly, immediate, instant, now, soul, he says, moves like molasses because it feels everything. It's spirit integrated into form, so it connects with everything. We may have experienced that just in the simple of moving from one home to another. If we've been in one home for a really long time and it's time to move, spiritually, it's no big deal. Spirit's in both places equally. It's just a place to live. Just move from one place to another. Soul will feel the energy and spirit that has been infused in the walls and the floors and the ceilings and on all the experience through the windows. And when we move, we feel a soul. We feel that spiritual uncomfortableness. We may grieve when we leave. We still have a place to live, but that soulfulness we experience in relationships and jobs. So we have this deep soul, spirit and form, the infinite spirit, and the human experience. What I believe is when we really experience and open our heart to spirit and form, this soul, it's a soul beauty. That what we discover is the beauty of pure spirit in a depth that is so heart-opening right here in the midst of earthly living. Thomas Troward is a New Thought teacher from the early 1900s. This teaching, Centers for Spiritual Living, was founded by a man named Ernest Holmes, and one of Ernest Holmes' main teachers and inspirations was Thomas Troward. Thomas Troward had been a judge in India, so he had learned a lot about Hinduism, so he integrated a lot of what they were teaching into New Thought. He was the president of the International New Thought Alliance in 1900, I believe. One thing that interested me in his book, Edinburgh Lectures, was that he said there was two main qualities of God, love and beauty. And that really struck me. It wasn't love and intelligence. It wasn't love and power. It wasn't love and peace. It wasn't joy. It was beauty, which had never occurred to me before. And it really brought home, that idea got re-emphasized in me with Reverend Michael Beckwith, who is a spiritually New Thought teacher, very awake today, a teacher today. He's centered in Agape in Los Angeles. He talks about what his great spiritual awakening happened. He had a vision dream where he was killed. And when he woke up from this vision dream, he was agnostic prior to this. He said, all he saw, he said, the only words I can use was love, beauty. And immediately those were the two words that came to mind, that everything was love and everything was beautiful. And I thought, wow, that's so interesting. Beauty comes up again, this beautifulness of right here, not just the transcendent, but right here in form, beauty. What Thomas Troward explains about this quality of beauty is that spirit always is attracted to itself. When we are in the face of beauty, our hearts cannot but open. There's no way we can stay constricted when we're around beauty. We have this immediate opening and attraction, and we want to be as close as we possibly can to beauty. We want to let it seep into our souls. We want to feel beauty on every level and dimension of our being. There's zero resistance, complete openness and attraction and wanting to be near something. And then we have heartbreak. Heartbreak is almost the opposite. Heartbreak hurts. It physically hurts. It emotionally hurts. And the thing that happens, at least I can say for myself, is when I feel that heartbreak, I want it to stop because I don't like it. I'm not attracted to it. I don't want it to continue. I want to come up with a solution in my mind. Many of us are doing spiritual practices to learn not to do this. But I want to fix it. I want to change something so I do not have to feel this pain anymore. I don't care what tools I have to use. Whatever I need to do, I do not want to feel this heartache. this heartbreak. It hurts. So it's almost the exact opposite. We want to get away from it as fast as we possibly can. And it can often shut us down and get us way down into the inertia of human living. What Thomas Troward talks about in the slowness of how soul works, spirit's already been healed, but it needs to seep into the human experience. So it needs to seep into those places that are a heartache, that are painful, that are the monster in our life, whatever it symbolically that monster is, or the beast in our life. That in fact, he says, when we resist that part, we actually miss the most beautiful part of the human experience. The monster, he says, at the center of our soul, he was talking about the inner monster, when we really be with that and allow spirit over time to seep into that, we will discover it's our star. It's the place where we shine. Thinking of the way he likes to use stories, I thought of Beauty and the Beast. Beauty, Belle, is imprisoned in a castle by the beast. She doesn't want to be near the beast. She would love to get away, but she is forced to stay in physical confinement near the beast. What happens? She gets to know the beast. The beast starts to reveal its inner soul. The world of appearances starts to dissolve for her. And she starts to see the beast for who it really is, for who he really is. He's in pain too. And there is a healing that begins to happen. And of course, the healing happens and he becomes a prince. She sees who he really is. But she was forced to stay with the pain, to stay with the discomfort, to stay with that thing which you don't want to stay with, to discover that there was her prince. Just what Thomas Troward was saying, when we're with that thing that we dislike the most, that's actually where the greatest joy is, if we allow ourselves to feel into it and walk in that journey. In our human life, we still, and all of us are susceptible to it, judging by appearances. There's things that are beautiful and there's things that we don't like. When we start to really practice every day, and this is why we have daily spiritual practices. That's why these are so important, and I know every one of you here has daily spiritual practices. To continue to return to that place of pure spirit. To continue every day to remember through our prayer and through our meditation practices that we are this infinite love intelligence that is free and unlimited, whole, perfect, and complete, always, already, pure love, pure peace, pure joy. That is not just an abstract idea, that is a reality. And then by anchoring ourselves in this practice and remembering every day, that is seeping into our stories, into allowing it to come into earth. We are not just waiting to die so we can go to heaven. Heaven is here right now. But that has to happen through us, and it happens through the soul, through this deep marination of spirit with this human form. So we do our spiritual practices and we continue to cultivate it in time, in space, so it goes a lot slower in all of our human experience. I've shared before of meeting a woman when I was working in a hospital. When I walked through the doors, she was a new patient, and she was physically, on the human appearance, on the human judgment, not attractive. I think intentionally to keep people away. She'd had a hard life. So people automatically step away. And this is an actual reality. I have to say the opposite. I've had the opposite experience. When I first went to Los Angeles, I befriended an international model. It was the most extraordinary experience. I had no idea. So I'm with someone who's just gorgeous, or a lot of people, it's all relative judgment, but apparently a lot of people think she's beautiful, because I'd walk down the street and men from everywhere were coming to her, giving her flowers and notes. I'm like, wait a minute, what have I been missing my whole life? What is going on? So we really have a strong reaction. We can't, this is part of the thing we have to deal with and face towards how we perceive things externally. But we are spiritual beings, and we are absolutely need to be warriors of seeing that which is real. So at this hospital, she got the desired effect. My first reaction was sort of to step back. I was assigned to her, so that meant getting to know her story, getting to spend time with her every time I came into the hospital. And she also happened to be an incredible writer. And so she would share her story with me, her writing, her personal story, which was full of pain, but she created so much beauty from it. And I just remember looking at her, just being in awe, and this feeling of falling in love, this feeling of what a beautiful soul. And I couldn't even remember the former opinion I had, because now I was seeing who she really was. I was seeing the truth of her being, and I was immediately attracted. I wanted to be around her. I wanted to hear her soul. I wanted her to experience the energy with which she was doing her own healing work. It was inspiring and attractive. And I'm not talking about physical attractive, I'm talking about soul attraction. And when we really are seeing everyone's soul, we are immediately attracted to those souls. We are immediately magnetized, and there can be that feeling of falling in love over and over with every person that we meet. When we hear their story, we see the beauty, the inherent beauty in all of our stories. I believe the vision for the Lighthouse Center for Spiritual Living is twofold. It's to be a house of prayer, where we are holding the infinite invisible, that always already love intelligence, that is always already perfect, that is always whole, perfect, and complete. And within the spaciousness and vibration of this consciousness, that we create a space for people to tell their stories. Because this is where the healing happens, not just when we are in prayer and meditation and in that transcendent, but bringing it into our actual lives, into the details of our everyday existence, into those places that are hurt, that are in pain, where we can start sharing those stories with one another, or sing them, or paint them, express them, to get them out, because our stories, those heartaches, are the place where our greatest beauty shines. It's where we fall in love with one another. When we begin to allow ourselves to be vulnerable and share from the depths of our being, through poetry, through dance, through movement, we start to see each other for the uniqueness we are, not just conceptually, but we feel it. We feel it in our heart, in our body, in our soul. That is how we move from heartache to healing, not just transcendent healing, but deep, soulful, beautiful, attractive, heart-opening beauty. Are you with me on this? Amen. Amen. So I want to end with a quote. Sorry. I have a friend who I actually first met in nursery school at church. And she's currently in France. And she took a picture, she's at the Louvre, the art museum, and she posted a picture of a painting, a self-portrait by Vincent van Gogh. And the picture was just, she said, or you saw in the picture, just throngs of people around his artwork. People just so uplifted and inspired by the work that he created. And someone posted this quote by Vincent van Gogh underneath the painting. Her picture of the painting, of his painting and all the people surrounding it. Again, this is a quote by Vincent van Gogh. What am I in the eyes of most people? A non-entity, an eccentric, or an unpleasant person? Somebody who has no position in society and will never have, in short, the lowest of the low. All right then, even if that were absolutely true, then I should one day like to show by my work what such an eccentric, such a nobody, has in his heart. This is my ambition, based less on resentment than on love, in spite of everything than on love in spite of everything, based more on a feeling of serenity than on passion. Though I am often in the depths of misery, there is still calmness, pure harmony, and music inside me. I see paintings or drawings in the poorest cottages, in the dirtiest corners, and my mind is driven towards these things with an irresistible momentum. May we all see and express the soulful beauty of our lives, individually and collectively. Let's pray. And how grateful I am to always begin, we all collectively begin at the beginning with pure spirit, that which is formless and nameless and beyond any human concept. That which is already whole, perfect, and complete, absolutely free and unlimited. It is absolute harmony, joy, peace that passes all human understanding, love, goodness that knows no opposite. It just is. It is who and what we are right here and right now. The isness of goodness, the isness of love, the isness of peace, the isness of beauty, the isness of harmony, the isness of grace. It is at the center of our being right here and right now, not because we make it happen or force it to happen. It just is, and we are here recognizing this truth collectively in this moment. In that two or more gathered consciousness, it becomes more alive and awake in our awareness than ever before. We feel it activated on every level and dimension of our being. We allow ourselves to be marinated, to seep into this pure spirit that is every aspect of our life. And we open our hearts and our bodies to the beauty of this spirit in everything that we are and life is. To see the impossible, to feel the impossible within our hearts, that even in the most painful heartache and heartbreak, even there is spirit. Even there is spirit. And we allow that to be nurtured and evolve within our being, breath by breath, day by day, month by month, and year by year, until we know beyond our wildest imagination the beauty of the human journey, that this infinite perfection includes all imperfection. This infinite love includes all the places that we may call ugly, less than, weak, wrong, bad. The infinite is big enough to include all of it. The yin and the yang, the dark and the light. And we are even now allowing the fullness of pure spirit to embrace everything that we are and this world is. We refuse to allow our hearts to be closed for very long. We recognize the heartbreak that happens with life. And in the midst of that heartbreak, we feel into spirit, even there in the midst of that pain, healing us slowly, beautifully, miraculously, in ways we can never possibly imagine. And even as we know this for every area of our life and for those people we love, we hold this for Miles Hall and all those who loved him, Edie Nelson, Edie, who knows that she knows and sees and experiences Miles even now, long after she feels his presence and knows his presence. Love knows no death. And yet even in the midst of that, the deep and abiding grief, the agony and the ecstasy all happening simultaneously in pure spirit. We see and feel this, knowing that the stories that are being told about Miles are healing the community, healing the family, being a grace of gift to know that in the midst of this earthly experience, in the midst of heartbreak, we can discover the miracle of beauty, the miracle of God's beauty. And we are doing that even now. We are allowing it to seep into our souls, seep into our hearts. We allow our hearts to break open and let the light in fully and completely. We let our hearts break open to allow the light into all aspects of our story, to our friends' stories, to the stories that are happening around this Bay Area, to this planet. There's been so much pain, and it seems unending. We keep telling the stories. We keep telling the stories. We keep telling the stories infused with the awareness that Spirit is in the midst of every story. Spirit is in the midst of every story. Spirit is in the midst of all the pain. And when we are living, moving, and having our being in this conscious awareness, healing is happening. Healing is happening, and the soul beauty of our individual lives and our collective lives are revealing itself in ways that we can never before imagine. And we are delighting and fulfilled and enriched by the powerful experience of walking this earth at this time in this place to see the beauty of Spirit, because we have claimed who we really are and what is real and what is true. And we are unrelenting. We are unrelenting in knowing that pure Spirit is always already fully alive in every moment, including in those deepest and darkest places that seem impossible. Even there, Spirit is. This is who we are. This is our claim. This is our stake. We are empowered to live the soul beauty of our life. Thank you, thank you, thank you, infinite love intelligence of the universe, for claiming your truth in the midst of all human experience, claiming that light that includes all life, includes all that we are, and that is revealing to itself to us right here and right now. Yes, 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 yes. To God be the glory. To God be the glory. We give thanks. We let this word be, knowing that we are here together as one. And I invite us all to say together now, and so it is. Amen and amen.
So it is, and so it is, and so it is. Amen. 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 And so it is. Amen.
Amen and amen. Amen.